Thank you, Professor Vega, for accepting that interview with us. Today, we are going to ask you questions about the work that you've done in the past. And we have different questions regarding yourself and also your work. So my first question is, what motivated you to do research mainly focused on race, gender, class, and sexuality?
I think that it's important I like to do stuff that I like to do, right? And so having to put together a research agenda or research trajectory as a PhD student, I really just kind of gave thought to, okay, what is it? What are the things that I naturally think about when thinking about various topics in communication? And so those are the topics that came up for me, topics of representation in advertising, issues, various issues with identity. And so I said, well, since I have to study something in depth and become what they call an expert, then I might as well do it in something that I'm really passionate about. Because being a woman of color, being someone that identifies as queer, being a Latina, right? I check off a lot of boxes in the marketplace where, I've experienced various things, in the marketplace. So that pretty much was what motivated me.
So do you think after advertising went more digital, do you think that the advertisements need to be more intricate, especially our newest generation, the Gen Z, is more, they say, not focused, and that's why TikTok is like really big, because it's like really short videos, because we have short attention span? Or do you think that advertising is just sizzling out to become more digital?
I think it's interesting when we try to project and kind of see what our future is going to be, right? Oh, the future of advertising is going to be this. When it feels like I was in industry decades and decades and more like hundreds of years ago, right? Centuries ago, because things have moved so quickly, right? I remember being in an agency and thinking that web banners were like amazing, right? It was like, oh my God, the account I'm on, they want to do web banners. I get to see how those are made, and just a short 10 years after that, web banners were like, what? Web banner who? And it just a short 5 years after that, they were so like yesterday, and now we have, advertising experiences, right? Now we have advertising seeping in through our gameplay. It just seeps in through every facet of our lives now. It's ingrained into the fabric of our everyday. I don't know about the intricacy of the ads, but I think that we have to learn how to speak to people, right? I think that is the part that we have to kind of focus on. What we say and how we say it. Right? And what images we use to portray what it is that we're saying. Because whether it's digital or on a piece of paper, right? On print, magazine, right? The same issues are there, right? Yeah. The same successes are there. Yeah. So what do we have to look out for? What are the problems? What are the progressions? What do we want to make better, right? How do we want to, as opposed to looking at digital media and saying, oh, we're going to use digital media because it's better, or we're going to opt for this because it's cheaper, it's better, the laundry list can go on. We need to look at the different formats and say, is this going to allow us to say what we need to say in a more efficient manner? The advent of digital media just allows us to really not only kind of refocus on format and say, oh, we've got this, a whole new digital world to explore. But while we're exploring that format, we also need to explore messaging, and we need to explore images, right? And we need to explore how we go about communicating to human beings.
Yeah. Do you think that advertising adapt to the customer or the customer adapt to advertising?
Yeah, that's an evil cycle. Well, I think that both parties have involvement in how they both progress, right? Entities that want to advertise pay attention to what consumers are doing and what consumers want. but then consumers pay attention to what advertising and what they're doing and what they want. And so together, I think that's when the magic happens, right? Whatever that magic is. Sometimes that magic isn't as positive as we want it to be. I think they kind of go hand in hand with each other. It's one of those things where did the tree really fall if you didn't hear it, right? So they have to go together, right? Advertising is nothing without consumers, and consumers aren't necessarily, not that they're not anything without advertising, but there still has to be a form of communication to the consumers in order for there to be that reciprocity and for the marketplace to live and breathe, right?
So has being in the industry changed your perspective of advertising throughout the years of like research and the jobs you've done, being a professor and all of that?
Yeah, I definitely, when I was in advertising, I kind of had, stars in my eyes, right? Everything was great. I just wanted to do everything, and I just wanted to work, right? I mean, that's what the excitement comes in. You want to go out and make stuff. When I got into the marketing side of things a little bit more, I remember the turning point for me. My career took me in the route of direct response for some time, and then because of that, on the marketing side, it took me into collateral development, and so I was hired as a consultant to work on the development of a catalog for a medical insurance company here in Los Angeles. And the person in charge of that project said to me, "Jess, we want you to put a Hispanic kid on the cover." It was a turning point for me. I was like, And I just started looking at things very, very differently, because that was the day where I had to ask, what do you mean? I was in a position where I had to ask those questions. Who are we talking to? Who's our target? And what do you mean by Hispanic? Do they know? Do they know? I don't know. Right? That's a rhetorical question. Do they know? I'm not sure that they know. I don't know that we know. That, we can't. That ocean spray example is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That guy's truck broke down. He wanted to stay hydrated because he was about to skateboard the rest of the way to work that morning. Okay, that's the BTS on that. And he happened to put a soundtrack on and was like, check it out, I'm going to work. Check it out. That's all he was doing, right? Went viral, right? Ocean Spray went nuts and was like, oh my God, this is exactly what we needed. Thank you. You can't plan for that. There's not a marketing professional and advertising creative on this earth that could have planned for that.
Agreed.
So what do they know? We don't know. And so then we go and try to reproduce those moments and they flop.
Yeah.
And then we lose trust because they lack authenticity.
How can we, as people of color, make sure that somebody is hiring us because of who we are and what we can provide, and not because they want to increase their diversity percentage?
Yeah, that's a fine line to kind of walk. But I came up in the days of affirmative action, and I was probably, I don't know what it's like to not be the only one. I always tell my students, interview your interviewers as much as they are interviewing you. You feel it. You feel it. And if you don't feel it, you're not paying attention, right? Ask the right questions. Think about what information you want out of them. And ask the right question. You want to make sure that they're hiring you for the right reasons. And chances are that you will be a diversity hire in some capacity.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you so much,
appreciate you
Professor.
and your
You're welcome.
time.
You're welcome.
That was lovely.
Thank you for having us, and I hope that it was interesting, and then we asked you interesting questions.
You did.
Oh,
Good
thank you.
job.
Thank you so
Good
much,
job.
Professor.